Hello everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making a gluten-free, dairy-free pumpkin pie, but with a non-traditional crust using gluten-free cinnamon Chex, a Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 flour, added a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, some homemade pumpkin pie spice, or purchased your 1 cup of vegan butter or margarine, 2 cups of Chex ground up in your food processor. That takes approximately 3.5 cups of Chex, some ice water, and some cinnamon. You're going to need a deep dish pie plate, as well as your mixing bowl to go ahead and start making your pie. Let's get to it. Now in your mixing bowl, we're going to be adding 2 cups of Crust Chex. And like I said earlier, it takes approximately 3.5 cups of Chex cereal in your food processor, and it will reduce down to the 2 cups of Crust Chex that you need for this recipe. We're then going to be adding 1 cup of Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 flour that has a 1/2 teaspoon of, or sorry, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder added to it. Now you could also use almond flour, but we're keeping this as allergen friendly as possible, so to avoid the nuts, I'm adding the Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 flour with the salt and the baking powder. I'm then going to be adding 1 stick melted vegan butter or margarine. Here I'm using Basil. So once it's melted in the microwave, sorry for giving you a little jiggle there, hitting the camera. We're then going to add 3 tablespoons of ice water. We're going to combine this well, and then we're going to let sit in the refrigerator and let chill until we finish making the pumpkin pie filling, which will be up next. This will also be a really good time to preheat your oven to 425. If you enjoy my content, please be sure to give it a like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And while you're at it, hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload new videos. It really helps support my channel and get it noticed. Thanks so much. Now we're going to be moving on to making our pie filling. We're going to be adding 15 ounces or 444 mils or just shy of 2 cups of pumpkin puree. You can definitely use your own homemade pumpkin puree, but it definitely has to be pumpkin puree and not pumpkin pie filling. We're then going to be adding 2 large eggs and 1 can of full fat coconut milk. We're then going to combine this really well before we move on to adding our next ingredients. So we're going to mix this up until the eggs and milk and pumpkin puree have combined. And then we're going to be adding 3/4 cup of sugar. Now you can use brown sugar, coconut sugar, but today I'm going to be using cane sugar. I'm also going to be adding 1 tablespoon of pumpkin spice. Now I am using my own homemade pumpkin spice, as well as 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon. Now, if you haven't already, now would be a good time to preheat your oven to 425. So once we've mixed in our spices, now we're going to be adding 1 teaspoon of vanilla. You can never have too much vanilla. And once our pie mixture is combined, we're going to set aside while we take our pie crust out of the fridge. We're going to be greasing our deep dish pie pan or pie plate. Now I'm going to be using a little bit of olive oil. I just put some olive oil or avocado oil in a little spray bottle I get from the dollar store. But you can use a cooking spray. I just try to avoid the cooking sprays because they contain butane and propane, so I just like to try and avoid that. But just make sure you grease your pie plate. And then once you've greased your pie plate, we're then going to take our pie crust that we've taken out of the fridge chilled and put it into the pie plate and press it into the pan. Now, once you press your pie crust into your deep dish pan, you actually want to try and take the pie crust up to the sides, complete sides of the pan. Number one, it's going to make sure that your crust isn't too thick. And it's also going to completely encase your pie filling. Now, I don't know what I was thinking, but when I pressed this into the pan, I must have thought I was making my cherry cheesecake or something, which... check out my Christmas baking series from a couple of years ago and you can find that recipe. Anyway, focus step. So now we're going to be, pressing this. You want it to actually go up to the sides, to the very rim, as if you were having your traditional flaky pie crust. But it just makes sure that your crust isn't too thick and, easier to cut into and all that jazz. So we're going to put this in the oven. We're going to bake at 425 for 5 minutes. Middle pan or middle shelf in the oven would be preferable. Once this comes out of the oven, we're then going to be adding our pie filling. Because your pie filling does go right to the rim of this deep dish pie plate. That's why it's so important to use a deep dish pie plate, is because you're going to need every inch of real estate for this pumpkin pie recipe. So once you've put your pie filling into your pie plate, you're then going to put in the oven, continue it to be on the middle shelf, and you're going to bake at 425 for 15 minutes. And then you're going to turn it down to 350 and bake for 50 to 60 minutes, depending on how hot your oven is. So, easy peasy. And there you have it. A delicious, easy pumpkin pie recipe in time for Thanksgiving. This recipe is made super easy because of the alternative pie crust, so that you don't have to struggle. If you really struggle with making pastry and gluten-free pastry, this helps you avoid all of that struggle and extra time. So I let this cool on the counter for approximately an hour, and then I also let it chill in the fridge for a couple of hours. We're going to dish it out and top with some Ghirardelli coconut cream, dairy-free whipping cream. There's also, as you can see there, some silk whipping cream. You could try that as well if you wanted to add some icing sugar or confectioner's sugar. You can also use that as a dairy-free alternative topping. But there you have it, everyone. Gluten-free, dairy-free, decadent pumpkin pie. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you again soon, friends, and I'll also link another couple of recipes at the end of the video that you may enjoy watching after this one. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.